people are retiring and they've got spending plans and the results are in. It's not going the way they want it to. I'm not laughing at people. I'm laughing sympathetically because as I feel like for a lot of Americans, we just get so frustrated. It's like we feel like we're doing things right, and then we end up finding out we're doing it wrong, which is why you're here, Jon. You are here to give us some information, some things to chew on.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. This is Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital, financial advisor. I'm Heather Branch, here to ask Jon about how we can create a spending plan that actually will work. Now, of course, we're going to speak in some broad terms and ideas here on this podcast, this YouTube video today. But if you've got questions for Jon and his team about getting down and dirty for your own spending plan, they're here for you. You can find us at retirementsolutionshow.com or click on the links we've got posted in the show notes. Now, this is where I have fallen short. I don't know if this is just based on people that were DIYing, but there was a study done by Nationwide Retirement Institute. They asked people who retired within the last 5 years. And if you do the quick math, that's right about 2020, 2021. So it's been a crazy 5 years.
It has.
Give them credit. But for these people, they found only 40% said their spending plan is working. So that leaves 60% saying their spending plan is not working. 21% of respondents said they are having to cut back, which makes me so sad.
Absolutely. And most of the time, what I have found is it's completely avoidable.
Okay.
Right?
Even sadder, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where when people see that they've done a good job saving, let's say that they have an arbitrary, I've saved $1 million or 1.3 million or I've hit this certain age, and they look at what they have, they're almost always, it's just how we're trained. We're looking at a number. Well, that's the amount that we've saved.
Yeah.
But the real question is, awesome, you have that number. Now, what can that number do for you and how it generates income that we could spend? That's unfortunately where so many of us, we're missing a piece.
Okay.
We're just missing a part of that puzzle. But many of us, because we've never done it before, imagine, Heather, trying to put together a puzzle where you've never seen the front of the box. That's what a lot of us are actually doing. We have a 1,000-piece puzzle. All of the pieces are in there. They're not even hard. It's actually a really well-designed puzzle, but we've never seen the front of the box. We have no idea what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
That is what an income plan for most of us looks like.
Okay.
We knew how to go to work every day, show up on time, punch our time clock, get everything right, do the right things to the right bosses, to get the right promotions, to get the right bonuses, to put all that money away.
Right.
And we get to this point where it's time to retire. And unfortunately, we don't have a proper spending or income plan. And that is what derails us. So if only 40% of people say that their income plan is in line, I believe it. I would honestly say, I think that number is maybe a little high. I think that, in my opinion, less than 20 to 25% of people actually have a written income plan for spendable income in retirement.
Okay.
Less than 1 out of 4. So if 40% say it's on track, or only 40%, then that tells me something that I kind of already believe. All we have to do is understand, when we get to this point, how do we spend that out as income? Because when people say it's off track over the last 5 years, it's kind of like, retirement a little bit is like a marathon. Whatever our tempo is for those first 5 years, it's kind of like the first few miles.
Okay.
That tempo will set the tone for the rest of the race, whether we're able to complete it, whether we burn out too quickly. And this is like spending, right? So if we overspend in the front end of retirement, it's kind of like doing that marathon where the first 5 miles, we go way too fast.
Sprinting.
All of a sudden, what starts to happen? Our body starts to cramp up.
Yeah.
We can't feel right. Our feet just start to immediately worry. And then all of a sudden, our mind gets in the way. Like, oh my gosh, I went too fast. Now I have to do blank. Now I have to do blank. Now I have to do blank. And we start getting over inundated with all of our anxiety. That's typically what happens. So what we want to make sure we're doing is that as we're utilizing the concept of retirement as a marathon, once we get to that point, it's not the finish line. Once we finally retire, it's not a finish line. That's not a trophy at the end. When we get to the finish line, that's actually the starting gun of a completely new race.
That's right.
Where now we've crossed that finish line to get to retirement. Now the marathon really begins. The next 20 to 40 years of creating income and creating purpose in a meaningful existence so that we can be happy over the next 25 to 30 years. And that is where so many people, unfortunately, they don't plan for it or they don't get it right.
You were pointing out some ideas there about things you're seeing people do wrong. The idea of starting off with the sprint or the marathon, spending too much too soon. What other mistakes do you see people making? Can we go as specific as just with the income plan where you see people making mistakes that can be avoided?
If you think about it, income and retirement is the ultimate outcome.
Right.
If people just had, I know that I've given the story 1,000 times, but I'm going to do it again because it's so poignant and it shapes so much about me.
Yeah.
My grandfather had nearly $10,000 a month, every month that came in from guaranteed pensions. They were either from the federal government, the Department of Defense, or the state of Tennessee, and they were going to come heck or high water. That money was going to come in. He almost didn't have to have any other plan because of the money that came in. Now, imagine and think about that for a minute. If you had in retirement $10,000 that came in every month, would you really have a whole bunch of fears? The average person wouldn't, especially because my granddad, when he worked, he never made more than like 35 grand a year ever in any given year when he was working.
Wild,
so his retirement was 3 times better. Right.
Look at me. Let's go to Walt Disney World. Let's go to Missouri. Let's go do all the things.
Exactly. So even if on paper he didn't really have any other assets, as long as he didn't have a whole bunch of debts, that income was the ultimate outcome.
Yeah.
That gave him the freedom to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, with whomever he wanted, as long as he wanted it, right? That's the big thing. So a lot of people, we focus on the number. How much have we saved? How much do we grow? But we're not thinking about, but what does that number mean? What can it do for me? Can it give me $7,000 every single month, come heck or high water, regardless of market performance, regardless of what happens in the administration, regardless of what happens geopolitically, regardless of what happens with tax rates or the Fed? And that's what a really good plan should do. Income is the ultimate outcome. So if we just focused on an income plan, then most people would have an unbelievably successful retirement. And let me give you an example. So I'm gonna call her Carol. Carol had done everything right. She'd saved almost $900,000 by the time that she retired at age 63, right? So she had a small pension. She was going to turn on her Social Security at 67 because that was her full retirement age, but she'd saved almost $900,000.
Yeah.
Everything was going to plan. Here's the amazing thing. She came to us not before she retired. She came 14 months after she had retired as a referral from her daughter.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. So Carol had done everything right. She had everything together, but what had happened, and her daughter said, Jon, she just seems a little anxious. She just seems a little not right. She seems not depressed. She seems anxious all the time.
Yeah.
And when she came in and met with us, we looked at it. She actually had a yellow steno pad and she pushed it across. And she said, Jon, I look at my bank accounts and my retirement accounts every day, twice a day.
Yikes.
I see every single thing that has ever been pulled out of those accounts. And here's what I did. I needed to do a light kitchen remodel because I was in the house every day. I had to have it done. I actually needed to help my daughter with a wedding plan. And so we did that. I was obviously going to do that. I had to do that. And my son was doing really, really well, but he lost his job and I had to help him out a little bit too. So those 3 things all happened in the first 14 months of her retiring. None of them were reckless. Not a single one of those expenses were reckless. They were reasonable.
Yeah.
But those reasonable expenses that happened in the front end of her retirement spent $94,000 of the 900 grand she'd saved.
Got it.
Amazingly. And what she said, and she was like, I don't know how to keep doing this because I've gone through so much. And it's true. She was pulling out nearly 10%, a little bit more than 10% of her savings, and she knew it wasn't going to last. But what she didn't have, she had tremendous savings. She had done a great job. What she didn't have was an actual written spending plan that made sure that reasonable expenses didn't cause her to have an unreasonably negative retirement. So all we had to do was go through it and let her understand there are certain types of expenses that we need to plan for because all of these things just compounded all at once. Could she have spread them out? Maybe. But the main thing was having the permission to spend the money she needed to. And let me put this into context. So Carol spent $94,000 in her first basically 14 months of retirement. That was not only way too much, it's kind of like outpacing yourself at that front end of the marathon.
Yeah.
You know, you've got 20 plus miles to go and you're already feeling the pain. Can she make it? She absolutely can, but it's going to have to change her thoughts and change her reasoning. What we did is we went in and just showed her none of those expenses were bad. She did nothing wrong, but those expenses are going to change a little bit of the math on what she needs to do next. When we looked at her income plan, but then we compared that to her tax plan, her health savings plan, basically her healthcare costs down the road, because she was single, and basically her overall maintenance, what we discovered was there were so many things that she wasn't considering in that. We changed her budget. But what that allowed her to do was to feel confident that every single month when the income was coming in, she had permission to use it. We also created what we called a life happens bucket, where we basically had about a full 2 years worth of income, not to be blown through, but to understand if we blew through more than that, it was going to cause bigger issues. But that was the only account that she needed to look at with consistency to know if this happens. What it did is it gave her a completely different sense of understanding, because we finally said, no, when this money hits your bank account, you have permission to use it the way you need to. Pay for, the improvements around the house. Do these things, but spread it out. By doing that, she got a completely different mindset, and she realized her money was not going to go away. She was still going to be perfectly fine, but she was living then within a system, one that she could control within reason, but also understand there was a lot of flexibility, a lot of room to maneuver, and it gave her complete freedom. She said, the only reason I didn't do this, John, is because I thought by having that regimented plan that I wasn't going to be able to do the things I want. But she realized by having that regimented plan, having those buckets properly done, it gave her tremendous freedom and flexibility to do the things that she wanted. Not everything she wanted, but most of the things she wanted if she planned for it correctly. That is what gave her the freedom to actually act well in retirement.
We talk all the time about the importance of having an income plan. Income is the outcome for retirement, but I think that this takes it one step further. Do you have a spending plan within your income plan so that you can do what you deserve to do, spend with confidence in retirement? Ask yourself, will you be sprinting too fast out the gate? Do you understand what it is to start a new race? Now you're transitioning into retirement, this different mindset of your spending plan. Do you have a plan for unexpected expenses? If you say, I don't know, all these questions, let's get to work helping you have some deliberate and decided answers. That's what Jon and his team are here to help you do. RetirementSolutionShow.com is our website, and where you can go to start the conversation with Jon and his team about creating not just your income plan for retirement, but your spending plan. RetirementSolutionShow.com. Let's get to work on that plan for you in the years ahead. You can also click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.